Trustee Peck. Trustee Rassich. Trustee Benucci. Trustee Fay.
Here.
Trustee Lamb.
Here.
Mayor Collins.
Here, if we could rise for the pledge.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Presidential comments.
I'm going to ask if Mr. Bortel will come to the mic. I think you have a presentation. We'll start with that.
Yes, we would like to have the plaque presentation tonight for the Masonic Block building, which was landmarked by the Village Board and prepared by the Historic Preservation Commission. So if representatives from the Masonic Block would come up and the mayor come out, we'll do this. Everybody knows where the Masonic Block building is downtown. It's one of the two probably most recognizable buildings downtown. The Onion Dome. It's also the only building in town that was designed by an architect. That was John Edward Minot from Aurora. It was built in 1892. Construction was started in March of 92 and was done and ready to be used in December of 1892 after the December 29th, 1891 fire. So here's your plaque for your building. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks on behalf of Plainfield Masonic Lodge, to the village and the Historical Society. We will figure out a way to get this on the building.
Scrunch it.
Very excellent.
Get everybody.
1, 2, 3, yep.
Let's have a proclamation, National Drunk and Drugged Driving, the 3Ds Prevention Month, December 2014. Whereas motor vehicle crashes killed 991 people in Illinois during 2013, and whereas hundreds of those deaths involved a driver impaired by alcohol and or drugs, and whereas the December holiday season is traditionally one of the most deadly times of the year for impaired driving, and whereas for thousands of families across the state and the nation, holidays are a time to remember loved ones lost, and whereas organizations across the state and the nation are joined with the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over and other campaigns that foster public awareness of the dangers of impaired driving and anti-impaired driving law enforcement efforts. And whereas the Village of Plainfield is proud to partner with the Illinois Department of Transportation Division of Traffic Safety and other traffic safety groups in that effort to make our roads and streets safer. Now, therefore, I, Michael P. Collins, do hereby proclaim December 2014 as Drunk and Drugged Driving 3-day Prevention Month for the Village of Plainfield, and hereby call all of our citizens, governmental agencies, business leaders, hospitals, and health care providers, schools, and public and private institutions to promote awareness of impaired driving problem, to support programs and policies to reduce the incidence of impaired driving, and to promote safer and healthier behaviors regarding the use of alcohol and other drugs this December season and throughout the year. Witness today, Seal, Village of Plainfield, Will County, State of Illinois, on the first day of December 2014. Do we have anybody from the Department of Transportation? Okay. And that's all I have.
Trustees' comments?
Yes, I have about a lot of comments. One in particular, I'm a great assembler of information folders. I have a lot of people do computers. I got an entire folder here and another folder here. I'm gonna read a couple just minor things. Trustee frustrated by CN. Canadian National Train, I'm going to talk about the railroad, parked on village tracks. Plainfield stop train causes Plainfield traffic snarl. Stalled trains, morning traffic. Oil cars are in doubt. Totally unsafe. 47 people die in Lake Majarek in Canada, etc., etc., etc. And this past Thanksgiving morning, we had people that were going to come and be at our house for the holiday situation. The CN train snarled traffic again. Some of our guests were 45 minutes late trying to figure out how to get to Wallen Woods from 126. This is totally unbelievable. It's an impossible situation that has been created by that railroad. On May the 16th, we had Congressman Randy Hultgren came and met with this village board, and we talked about Canadian National. We talked about safety issues, traffic issues, impacts to our economic development, and impacts to the school district. You know, everybody got elected. I don't think anybody comes back. What I'm charging our village administration with, and I'm charging this entire village board with, is the fact is we have to do something with this village in order to try and get Canadian National to be good, responsible business people. They are not responsible. They say we have the right to do it. And oftentimes their claim to what is right is absolutely wrong. One issue is they said they can leave trains unattended. I have the federal legislation that says they can't leave trains unattended. They cannot block intersections, and they say, well, we can do it. Those laws were written in the late 1800s when the rail industry was growing and this country wanted them to grow. Right now they have grown enough, in my estimation. We don't need 28 oil frack trains going through this community. I'm worried about not only the safety of our citizens, I'm just concerned about this entire village. This village is going to die economically because people are saying, I don't want to go there simply because I can't get there. Traffic is snarled all the time. I understand at one time they had 3 or 4 trains going through Plainfield. Now it's averaging 28 to 30 trains a day. Count the number of oil cars that go by you. What I'm saying is, with this board and with our administration, we have to get people who are involved in Washington, with the state of Illinois, I don't care where they are, come here and see the situation and help us find relief. Okay? Thank you. A second issue I wanted to bring up, unfortunately, I'm always frustrated when a member of the public confuses or disregards governmental boundaries or jurisdictions. Currently, I had to write this down because I had to think about how many places. Currently, I'm a resident of the Village of Plainfield. I'm a resident of Plainfield Township. I'm a resident of Will County, the state of Illinois, the United States of America, and I'm kind of a resident of the planet Earth on a temporary basis. What I'm saying is there's a tempest brewing continually in the Village of Plainfield, and it's in regard to people confusing who belongs to what jurisdiction. The tempest I'm talking about, I see an awful lot of publicity and advertising in regard to a farmer who's doing illegal dumping environmental polluting of the DuPage River. He's unauthorized illegal hunting, personal threats to individuals made allegedly from people on property. I don't know if it's in the village of Plainfield or if it's in Plainfield Township, but it is in Will County and all of the other areas I said. Enough people dislike me that I don't want to go argue with someone with a shotgun who's hunting down on the DuPage River, perhaps in the village of Plainfield or somewhere else. What I'm saying is there's an awful lot that has to be resolved, and I certainly hope perhaps our administration sometime could explain this situation that's there. Oftentimes people say, well, he's a resident of Plainfield. I don't know if he is a resident of Plainfield. I don't know if the actions that he's taking is on Plainfield property, but people are accusing the village of Plainfield for closing its eyes and our police department for avoiding things. You know, our police department, in my estimation, is very honorable, and I don't think they avoid a situation if they were contacted. And that would be a very positive thing for them to have done. There was a third thing, if I can find it. I was wondering if oftentimes our last meeting, our committee, the whole meeting was not broadcast. It was not in audio or a visual sense by our government channel. I was wondering if there's a possibility, Mr. Murphy, if you could be very clever as you are with certain amounts of money and finding money to upgrade this system. People tell me continually they cannot see, the picture's blurry, the sound is horrible. Even the words that I say are horrible, and they're confused by that. Long story long, I've been on this board for over 10 years, on the Planning and Zoning Board for a couple years. 12 years of bad broadcasting. I'm not lying, and it's not the village's problem, but it is a technical problem that we should be able to resolve. There's no reason we can't have good transmission to our community, because there's an awful lot of people who like to watch this village board meeting. I don't know why, but they do. Anyway, those are the 3 points, and like I say, I hate to keep putting rocks in the pack of Administrator Murphy, but he's good at handling that type of thing. Okay, thank you.
Can answer 2 of the 3, if you'd like. With regard to the meeting, yeah, there was a there was an issue with some equipment that we had a malfunction with. It's since been fixed. That being said, yes, the equipment we have here is some rather old technology, and we have looked at the possibility of replacing it over the past few years. Of course, it costs about $40,000 to $50,000 to upgrade the system that we need to bring in HDMI technologies and the like, and it is something that we are currently getting proposals on. That said, the quality of the feed that ultimately goes out of this building still goes across coax cable lines, and with that in mind, the quality of the production immediately is going to drop off as a result. We are taking a look, though, at some other possibilities of doing streaming online, so you can actually watch Jim Rasich and the rest of the board members live on your tablet at home or wherever else you care to be. We think that that'd be a nice value add to this. That said, it will be about a $40,000, maybe $50,000 project by the time we are done with that. Let me see your notes, because I'm kind of losing my... Oh, with regard to the dumping, yes. That was the other one that I wanted to cover. Yeah, actually, well, normally we don't talk about these kinds of things. I can tell you that our police department has responded quite regularly to the situation on that property. Part of that property is in the village of Plainfield. Part of that property is actually in the city of Joliet. However, all of it is something that we have responded to. We have, while it was only reported the one case, Mr. Fritz has been to court on more than one occasion through our efforts in prosecuting him for various different issues. So I do want you to know that we do take all of the issues very seriously, and are quite happy with the ultimate results of the latest prosecution. to hopefully clean up that particular situation. Where the dumping is occurring is actually on the parcel is technically in the city of Joliet, so it is something that, that's why the Will County prosecutor handled that particular situation. And then lastly, on CN, you're absolutely right. The police department has been in contact as well with CN to schedule some meetings so that we can have some conversations. It appears as though they had some hot box issues last year when it got very cold, and they allegedly fixed them. And I say allegedly because as soon as it got cold again, we're having hot box issues again. So to us, this is not an acceptable situation, and Chief Konopek is taking the lead on using his police contacts to get through to CN.
Thank you.
Any chance we can get Canadian National either to address one of the meetings here or a workshop or the Coffee of the Mayor? ComEd showing up to the Coffee of the Mayor every month is very, very beneficial to their image, and I would think Canadian National might be receptive to making that same step.
We will definitely make that offer to them, and that's not a bad idea at all. We thought we'd address it from the perspective of this is a public safety issue at first, but you're absolutely right. Community conversation is most likely
Get involved in it,
highest
they
order.
start to probably be more responsive. But, bring up a question on the dumping, though. It may be in Joliet, but doesn't Will County Stormwater take care of that? Alan, maybe you...
Well, in this particular case, where I was going is that we have done a lot of the policing work, but it's from a prosecutorial point of view, it went through the.
We've actually forwarded some of the cases that we've had with Mr. Fritz to the federal government, to the EPA and agencies like that. So not only have some of those been addressed on a local level, but also on a state and federal level as well.
That's what I was looking for, because they really ought to be. If you're dumping into a body of water that flows through many counties, whatever, you can't do that.
Yes,
He's
absolutely.
been working on that for a long time, and we ought to find a way to be able to stop that. It's not our immediate local problem. It's basically a governmental problem countrywide. So, yeah, thank you.
You know, I know Mr. Collins always likes this term enclosure. You know what disturbs me in regard to the situation with the dumping? It really gives a bad image to the village of Plainfield. We initially or always attempt to have Plainfield displayed in a very positive light. When negative publicity goes out in one fashion or other, they just simply say Plainfield. Plainfield is not 300,000 square miles, but everybody thinks it is. But yet it's always Plainfield. And like I say, if there's a way we can resolve a problem, resolve it. And if there's a way we could say it's not us, say it. Because I'm proud of this community, and I very definitely want to see the right jurisdiction be responsible for bad actions. And that individual is producing an awful lot of bad action. And thank you.
One more quick comment. Sorry, the Masonic Lodge people left, but the fact that that was designed and built all in 1892 is impressive. I wonder if we could even do that today. It's a really a very nice building, and that short a time is amazing. So I would love to have had them hear that, but they're all gone. So anyway.
Are there any other trustee comments? Not, this would be the time for public comments on items not on the agenda, not to exceed 3 to 5 minutes per topic.
Yes, just make sure to turn it on, please.
And how can one do that?
Right on top of that.
On top of this?
Little one may work better.
Thank you. Green light means go. Hi, everybody. My name is Vicki Polito. I live in Walker's Grove. You'll have to excuse me. I left one set of notes at home, and I was scribbling while you all were talking. You've already addressed some of what I wanted to mention. I'm also very concerned about this dumping situation on the DuPage River at the Fritz Farm site. I'm really glad to hear people actively talk about wanting to resolve it, because it truly is a problem for Plainfield. We can say unincorporated, we can say not in our jurisdiction, but when you say that with the word Plainfield, I guarantee you the only word people will ever remember or hold on to is Plainfield. And that's bad for business here, that's bad for residential development here. And frankly, I cannot remember. I'll have to apologize to one of these towns. I don't remember if it was Crest Hill or Crestwood a few years ago. Some of you remember, I think about in 2009, the 25-year-old history of dumping that was going on into a well there that got contaminated with something called PCE, which is an industrial solvent, a dry cleaning solvent. Turns into vinyl chloride, causes all kinds of cancers, including liver, brain cancer. That kind of thing really, really damaged that community. And even worse, that thing caused harm to children who became severely ill. Kids in particular got cancers from that kind of stuff. I know some people up here on the board have been active with riverfront beautification and so on. I would encourage not just the board to continue. I know you can't do a lot jurisdictionally, but if what you can do is pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm a trustee in Plainfield. Hey, I'm mayor of Plainfield, and I wanted to talk to you and let you know about my concern. If citizens can do that too, call the EPA, call the IRS. Apparently this guy's allegedly been pocketing money off the books for what he's doing down there. Call, and you don't mess with the IRS. Call anyone you can think of. Call the state reps. Call Senator Bettino Tarrant. Call Tom Cross. Call Governor Quinn. Make sure this stays a hot button issue for people, because truly this poisoning of where we live will affect everyone. Your economic status won't matter if you can't breathe and, eat and drink things. There's all kinds of corruption charges floating around. And I'm also extremely concerned because out there on the internet, people are starting to use phrases regularly like, I'm going to take every measure I need to protect myself. I have a shotgun. My life has been threatened. Someone threatened to kill my children. That's something we can't stand still for. We have to jump on this and jump on this hard, because the last thing you want to be is down the road years from now where you haven't addressed it as hard as you could and find out that you've got kids being poisoned, somebody got shot and nobody cares, the town's reputation is ruined, and there goes everybody's lifestyle here. So thank you very much for addressing that here tonight. I'm glad to see that people are taking a real active role in doing that. And please, to people out there listening, neighbors, people, friends in Plainfield, please think about working on that too. We all have to live here together, and we have to try to make it a good place to live. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? If not, we'll proceed with the business meeting. We're seeking a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Trustee Rassich? Trustee Fay?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Collins?
Yes.
We're seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda to include minutes of the board meeting and executive session held on November 17th. Bills paid and bills payable reports for December 1st. Approval of the 2015 meeting schedules for the Village Board, Committee of the Whole Workshop, Coffee with the Mayor, Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals, Historic Preservation Commission subcommittees, Police Pension Board, the Police Commission, and the Advisory Task Force on Economic Development.
So move. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve items A through C under the consent agenda. Trustee Rassich?
Yes.
Trustee Fay?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Collins?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Goldfish Swim School. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt ordinance number 3188, approving the annexation agreement of the parcel located at 12315 South Rio Drive.
That is my motion. Second.
That motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
Yes, there are. On the Village of Plainfield Board meeting on November the 17th, 2014, I specifically asked the question, I'll start over. On November 17th, Village of Plainfield Board meeting, I specifically asked the question of the developer of this particular concept of the Goldfish Swim School, will you be having parties? And the answer was no. And it was even seconded by Mr. Lamb, will you be having parties? No. Well, I think that completely changes the complexity of this agreement, of the annexation agreement, the entire agreement, because I think there's certain issues with assuming that an individual is going to have a party or not have a party, or if it's simply going to be a swim school. So I asked Mr. Garrigan if that was the situation. He said he spoke with the developer, and he said yes, he wanted to proceed by having parties at that particular facility. And so I'd like to open that question up to the village board. Are they comfortable with, I call it a bait and switch. Someone else would think something different of that. But I'd like the board to address that concept and give their particular ideas before we vote on the approval or denial of this particular item on our agenda.
Well, from my point of view, I did ask the same question that you did, and it was put into the record somewhere. If he would like to hold parties there, I think we need to understand what kind of parties could be, and the safety issues may be involved with that. The swim school, I had no problems with it at all, but the parties, what kind of precautions they're going to have, I don't think we had that answered. When he said he wasn't going to have them, it became a moot point. I didn't bother to proceed further. But if he's changing that desire, I think he needs to come back to a minimum board here tonight. So I think it ought to come back to a larger group of the board for if you want to have parties. I have no problem approving it without the parties now. But the parties, I think, ought to come back to the board specifically since it was said there was going to be no parties.
Well, pursuant to the previous discussion, and we had that discussion at the last board meeting, I had some subsequent discussions with the applicant who's actually here this evening and would be able to actually provide any information that the board may have, specifically as it relates to the parties. But based on my discussion with the applicant has identified they would have basically parties on Saturdays and Sundays after the hours from 9 o'clock to 1:30. You'd be looking at a maximum of 2 parties per weekend, i.e. 1 party on Saturday and 1 party on Sunday, maximum of 2 per week. And if you have any questions about the other parameters, generally you'd be looking at a maximum of around 24 individuals, children at that party, based on the applicant's representations to staff to see. Again, the applicant's here, so if you want to actually provide have him provide any illumination or any additional information pertaining to the proposed parties, he's here actually to answer any questions you may have this evening. But again, 2 per weekend is generally what we're looking at.
Yeah, my concern is not with the number of parties. I really don't care. I'm concerned with the safety of the parties. If there's a written procedure by which the safety precautions are down, there have to be at least 2 lifeguards there, or somebody's watching all the time. If that's written, I'd like to see that, because that's a public safety issue in my mind. You're holding public parties around a pool.
Hello. How you doing this evening? Before I respond to that particular question, and I will, I just would like to respond and go back to, Trustee
Resich.
I actually went back and looked at the recording from the last meeting that I attended and was asked that question. And just to clarify a couple of things, because there was some sort of miscommunication, there was really no intended bait or switch. The question was asked to Mike specifically, and the question was, the original question was, are you primarily a swim school? And Mike responded to that question which was, yes, we are primarily a swim school. When you, sir, asked me the question, I thought that question was already answered. And when I came up and spoke, and excuse me if I misunderstood, I thought you were asking if it was a primarily swim school for children, and I came up and said yes. So I apologize if there was any confusion. I didn't know I was responding to a specific question about if there were parties, because that was not even, that wasn't asked to me, that was asked to Mike by Trustee Rasich.
Yeah, sorry about the confusion.
I apologize for that. But just to go back to that original question and let me answer that, and then I'll answer to the safety of the swim parties. We are primarily a swim school. We'll be open 7 days a week if we can be allowed to open up here. We teach swim lessons in the morning and the evening, Monday through Friday. And Saturday and Sunday we teach swim lessons from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. After which time we have about an hour and a half, 2 hours, which we do allow for birthday parties. At that time, the birthday parties are monitored and controlled by our staff. The percentage of business that we do in terms of birthday parties to the swim lessons, I calculated is less than 5% of our business. It's 96% of our business is swim lessons. That's primarily what we do. The birthday parties are for children. They're either a maximum of 24 children that is completely supervised by our staff. And just like when we're giving swim lessons, there is a ratio of swim lifeguards to the amount of children in the pool. And of course, that's what we do during swim parties. We're about to open up, it's a franchise, but there's 17 open, and we've been doing birthday parties for, almost 10 years without incident. So, we're all about teaching swim safety, so it would be kind of, ridiculous that we're not being, our business practice isn't safe for when we're doing birthday parties when children are swimming. The other aspect too is our pools are only 4 feet deep throughout the entire pool. So there's not even like the deep end. Kids have to take a test before they go into the pool to swim. If they can't swim, across the pool by themselves, then they have to wear a life vest. Okay? So, we have every single area of this covered. But again, and I just want to apologize because I thought the question originally was, and like I said, I went back and I looked, and it was primarily, are you a swim school? And that was, my response was yes. So I apologize if there was any confusion.
Yeah, the reason I asked the question the second time is that Mike did respond, but you're the one that has to respond. He can't answer for you because he can't commit you to do anything, but you can commit yourself. The only question I have, I understand what you're saying. Your safety precautions seem to be pretty good, but you just continue to say staff and some normal ratio. What is that ratio, the maximum number of pupils or students to a staff member? When you have 24 kids there, how many staff members are going to have watching that?
There's usually 3 or 4 staff members during a pool party, a birthday party.
Minimum of 3? Okay, then you have an 8-to-1 ratio, which is tolerable. I think it works. You have a lot of experience with it, but it's something you need to think about in advance. Having 17 of these, somebody's obviously thought about it, but I'm trying to make sure that we don't have an incident here in Plainfield. I'd love to have you here. I think it's great teaching kids to swim, but parties are a slightly different animal, and make sure that they're handled well too. So,
like I said, it's controlled from the moment they walk in the door to when they leave. With the staff control the whole.
And if you put jackets on people who don't know how to swim, that's great too. That's a piece of information I didn't have. Okay, good. That's a piece I didn't know about, so thank you.
Sir, it's interesting that you were explaining a communication gap and an understanding. I do realize that when people, for example, yourself, a developer, or anyone comes and other people are talking, there is a breakdown oftentimes in communication, knowing who a specific question is geared to. But when I asked you that question, when I asked you the question, will there be parties, you did say no. And so, like I say, now you explain it as a communication flaw of one sort or another, and I can understand that. My concern, basically, the YMCA has swimming lessons, a swimming pool, swimming parties, and they're very successful. And I can understand. The only thing is I'm always concerned about is the health and safety of individuals, not knowing exactly that you are a franchise group, not knowing where you come from, not knowing what numbers of situations you are going to deal with. You can see my hesitancy and understand just in simply giving a blanket yes to a future facility. But Mr. Garrigan assured me that he felt very positive. Other people have felt very positive also. And thank you for coming tonight and explaining that.
And I apologize, for that confusion.
No, you don't have to. Okay, thank you.
As an aside, if you don't mind me, before your vote, and I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other, but 3 of my 4 children actually have gone through Goldfish Swim School back when we lived in Michigan, and all 3 of them are state swimmers, so they must have done something good.
And one, tell about Alicia.
Oh, Elena. Yeah, actually, Elena was
Elena,
Elena. Alicia's my ex-wife. Thanks for that
Okay.
reminder. Merry Christmas to me. No, Elena actually was the 15th fastest backstroker in the state of Michigan this year. So,
That's Michigan though, right?
yes, Michigan, not nearly as good as Illinois, but still, nevertheless, we'll take it.
The other aspect that staff has attempted to address is parking. I think parking was addressed, and we have conferred with the applicant. Based on our analysis, it appears that the parking for the actual parties would actually be less than the actual lessons, which would be required. The other thing I'd like to bring up is a procedural thing. There is an annexation with regards to that, so I'm not sure. Perhaps I'll defer to Mr. Harvey with regards to how many trustees theoretically would need to support an annexation agreement, and whether we have that number here this evening.
Yeah, we discussed it actually briefly before the meeting. Normally, for an annexation agreement under Illinois law, you need 2/3 of your board, and that's, with a normal board, it's 7, and you need 5 votes. However, right now, we have a 6-person board, so 2/3 would be 4. The only way the agreement could be adopted tonight is if all 4 board members here, the mayor and 3 trustees, would vote for it.
Are there any other comments or questions? Not, the motion was made and seconded to adopt ordinance number 3188, approving the annexation agreement of the parcel located at 12315 South Ria Drive. Trustee Rassich,
Yes.
Trustee Fay,
Yes.
Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Collins.
Yes.
Thank you, that motion carries. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt ordinance number 3189, approving the annexation of the parcel.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll proceed with the roll. Trustee Rassich,
Yes.
Trustee Fay, Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Collins. Thank you, that motion carries. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to adopt ordinance number 3190, granting approval of the requested map amendment, rezoning to B3.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll proceed with the roll. Trustee Rassich,
Yes.
Trustee Fay, Trustee Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Collins.
Yes.
Thank you, that motion carries. Next item on
Excuse
the-
me, before we move on to the other item, Mr. Murphy was thrown off by a minor remark that I made. He quickly said that his daughter, Elena, came in 15th, and he kind of mumbled it. 15th in the state of Michigan in the highest class as a freshman. And that is totally remarkable. And I remember getting a text message from him that morning, and I said to him, "What time is the swim meet?" And he said, "Not till 1:30, and it was about 10 o'clock. And he had a picture of his beautiful daughter, Elena, standing at the pool, and he said, "Doesn't she know how nervous I am?" And she was just smiling and everything. So it was really a remarkable thing and a wonderful accomplishment, and a graduate of Goldfish Academy. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is 2014 tax levy public hearing. We're seeking motion to open a public hearing on the 2014 tax levy.
That is my motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, that motion carries.
This is the public hearing for the 2014 tax levy for the Village of Plainfield. As was discussed at the October 27th Village Board Workshop, the intent of the Village Board is to maintain the 2013 overall levy rate of .4669. Based on the preliminary estimates of our equalized assessed valuation for the village, the ordinance that's in your packet reflects a total property tax request of $5,486,100. The actual total equalized assessed value of the village will not be available until the spring. So the actual dollar amount the village received may be less than the estimate that's included in the ordinance. If approved, and once the EAV is extended to the village in the spring for authorization, staff will formally notify both counties of the village's intention to maintain the levy rate of .4669. Just as a reminder, this levy information is only specific to the village. The Village of Plainfield's portion of the 2013 levy was 4.93%, or for every dollar that was paid in property taxes in total by village residents, 4.93 cents is paid directly to the Village of Plainfield. The tax levy ordinance is required by state statute to be on file in both Will and Kendall counties prior to the last Tuesday in December. And again, if the board has any questions in relation to the ordinance that's in the packet, I'd be happy to answer those.
This is a public hearing. Are there any public comments? Now would be seeking a motion to close the public hearing and return to the regular business meeting.
That is my motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. Are there any comments or questions?
I have one comment which is sort of lost. Tracy covered it. We're asking for the 5,486,100, but we don't expect to get that because the EAV will be down, and we know that. Our best guess right now is we'll be down $200 or almost $300,000.
Correct.
So we're not trying to get to the maximum amount that we could. We could get more if we wanted to change the rate up. We're left the rate where it is, and we expect to have a shortfall and what's requested here because of that, and we're comfortable with that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? We'd be seeking a motion to adopt ordinance number 3191 for the levying and collecting of taxes for the Village of Plainfield, Will and Kendall County, Illinois, for the fiscal year commencing on the first day of May 2014. That motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Rassich? Trustee Fay? Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Collins?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Route 30 TIF designation and redevelopment strategy. We're seeking board consideration of a motion to authorize the village administrator to execute a contract with SB Friedman Development Advisors to complete a TIF eligibility study and RPA plan and a redevelopment strategy for the Route 30 Renwick to Spangler corridor in the amount of $78,200.
Thank you very much. As you know, IDOT is planning on making some roadway improvements to Route 30 from essentially Route 59 to I-55 in the Village of Plainfield. The corridor, the commercial corridor from Renwick Road to Spangler has seen some challenges during the downturn in the economy, and with the proposed roadway improvements, it is a opportune moment for us to have a conversation about creating a TIF district. The village staff met with the administrative staff at the school district and some of the other various bodies to have a conversation about the possibility of creating a TIF district in the area. It was generally agreed that the corridor is in need of improvement and that they would be willing to participate, provided that we could provide a mechanism where some of the additional value capture would be returned or carried over to the taxing jurisdictions. So with that in mind, we asked SB Friedman to put together a proposal for us, actually two proposals, to study the possibility of creating a TIF district along that corridor, and as well to come up with an overall redevelopment plan for the corridor. The eligibility study and RPA plan, which is the meat to essentially create possibly a TIF, comes in at $26,100. The redevelopment strategy, which is to take a look at all of the properties and come up with a concept plan and redevelopment plan, tying that in then as well to the work we've done with retail strategies and our psychographic profiles and the like, is $52,100. We will charge those, if it's approved by the village board, we'll charge that to the legislative and administration contractual services line items in the general fund. Seeing the success of what we were able to do with the downtown TIF really is what helps us to inspire the idea of what we possibly can do there. Whether it was the facade grants and the like, we've had some very good successes in the downtown area, and we'd like to see if we can parlay that along that other corridor. Fran Root is here from SB Friedman Advisors if you had any questions for them. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I have a few questions, so, yeah. Thank you. He's asking me to go ahead, but I'll try to do that, so. The public approval process, what's involved? Meetings like this, anything other than governmental?
After we do the eligibility study and prepare a redevelopment plan, there are a couple of public meetings. There's also a joint review board meeting, which is composed of all of the taxing districts and the village. So that's the first meeting, and if it's approved at the JRB, there is a public meeting, and then board approval is required to create the TIF district.
Okay. Talking about eligibility, I understand from the write-up here, your firm has done a lot of these. How many times do you find areas are not eligible, and for what reason are they not eligible?
Some of the main reasons we would find an area to not be eligible would be very new buildings, if there's been quite a bit of recent investment in the area. I think more often when we go in and look at an area, the village has already recognized that there may be problems. A lot of times it's an older corridor, older district, or unimproved land that has flooding or other problems. And so what we would first do is go out and do an eligibility analysis for all of the parcels in the proposed district, and then come back and work with Brian and other staff to change the boundary if needed to create an eligible district. So if there are certain parcels that we don't think are eligible and that we wouldn't want to include in the district, those would be excluded. And as long as we maintain continuity of the district, then it's still an eligible district.
And the TIF funds, how would they ordinarily be applied? One of the things that you've, in your second study, proposing the, what we call the boulevard development, how would you use TIF funds there? Would you make it a part of the agreement when they come in the first place? Is it something that we end up having to pass on a regular basis like we do the facade grants? I mean, how would this work in this particular case as you see this particular area?
Exception of vertical construction of private buildings, so you can't ever use TIF funds to build a new shopping center or something like that. What you can do is pay for acquisition of parcels, demolition if you have old buildings that are dangerous or need to go. You can pay for infrastructure improvements, public facilities, and then things like financing cost, interest costs, things like that. So TIF is often used if a village is trying to redevelop an area and there are some sites that are susceptible to change that maybe you have a willing owner who's looking to sell. So the village could acquire that parcel and then sell it at a discount to someone else in order to encourage redevelopment, or just provide infrastructure and other amenities that can help attract development.
And how long does a TIF traditionally run? 20 years, or is it more?
20. There is possible. It's a 23-year statutory life.
23. Okay. Okay. The bulk of the in your second study, you're looking at developing the area which we've been anxious to develop for some time, and that's fine. I think that'd be the focal point, but you've got an trying to find the page. Number 6 in the identify sites susceptible to change. We've been looking at Route 30 for some time, as you no doubt have figured out. We'd love to see it change. I hope you could identify some things, and maybe you know some ways to pick the things that are likely to change. It sounds like from the write-up that you have some experience with that. That'd be most beneficial, because I frankly been looking at it for 9 years, not quite the 10 that Mr. Ratchick has, but I don't know what to do with it. So if you have some ideas, I'd certainly welcome them. So.
Yeah, and this idea of sites susceptible to change, I think that is something that SB Friedman, that we use maybe more than other firms do. It's really looking at ownership of the parcels, value of the parcels, age of building, location, access, all of these different things, parcel size, to look at what the sites that we really think could undergo change and maybe are best, maybe the village could best target its efforts to. So the idea is that we identify those sites susceptible to change and do a more detailed planning analysis for 3 or 4 priority sites, and then we'll actually come up with a strategic redevelopment plan for those sites, and that will sort of dovetail with the TIF study and we'll identify specific ways that the village could use TIF for those sites to attract redevelopment.
Thank you. I like the idea of doing the studies. It's something I think we are likely to benefit from. It's worth spending the money to find out. We need the development in that area, particularly the road's going to be better soon, so, well, 2 years, not that soon, but it should be a great opportunity to really make that a feature part of town, so.
I should also mention that we do have a transportation engineer on our team, so they'll be looking at access issues and sort of incorporating any plans that IDOT has already to improve the area as part of, you know, developing these new plans for the priority sites.
You look at all the structures that are currently in the area.
Yeah, we do a parcel by parcel analysis, so we take pictures and document eligibility criteria for every single building and for every vacant parcel.
Because, you know, the purpose could change over the years as we evolve, so.
In the future, if land uses change and if your needs change, you can add parcels. It's sort of flexible.
Okay, thanks.
I'm aware of 3 or 4 parcels on Route 30 in this corridor that we probably all share concerns with. But I'm also aware of a gas station at Route 30 in Renwick that has been approved, Mega Sports, Durbin's, 3 or 4 car dealerships, a few strip malls, and most of those buildings are relatively new. A new gas station at, I can't think of the side street.
McClellan.
McClellan. I'm concerned with this amount of expenditure for what I perceive as relatively few parcels. You know, for that entire corridor.
Well, it includes the boulevard lot, the entire area.
I understand that.
There's quite a bit there, so.
There's wetlands that cannot be touched. Crest Creek Plaza is relatively new. Lily Cash Plaza. And the car dealerships are in good condition. I'm concerned about expending that type of funds for what I perceive as relatively few parcels.
As it relates to the car dealerships, there is conversation that perhaps one of those dealerships will not be there. So that's, again, one of the things that we're taking a look at is a possibility of redeveloping that as that plays out. You're right, Mega Sports and the gas station site more than likely won't pass the eligibility test, but again, that's part of what Friedman and Associates will do for us, is to examine what parcels would stay in within that district. The question with regard to the flooding and the like as it relates to the boulevard's development, actually that's one of the bases by which that we can actually assist in making some improvements using TIF funds to improve so that those wetlands and floodways are actually maintained and or improved. We were taking a look at some of the plans that were proposed for the boulevards, and the way it's currently designed, or was currently designed, it actually does have some stormwater issues. The bridge in a 10-year rain event actually causes that they were proposing would cause some additional flooding. So this would allow for us to be able to use funds to correct those issues.
I should also note that the TIF Act only requires that the eligibility findings be found present to a meaningful extent and reasonably distributed throughout the area. So it's not that every single parcel has to meet the eligibility criteria. It's just that the majority of them do, and that in good conscience we can, you know, see that it's reasonably distributed. And there are 2 different ways under the TIF Act to find parcels eligible. One is a conservation area, and then the other is blighted. In the conservation area, just 50% of the buildings in the area have to be over 35 years of age. And then we would have to find 3 additional criteria, which could include things like site improvement or building deterioration, lack of proper community planning or platting. So if you have oddly shaped parcels or poor access, things like that. So it's not necessarily that every building is completely deteriorated or dilapidated. There are several different factors that can be used for district creation.
I think there's about 10 homes or something involved in this. We also have closed dealership. We also have the mall at Lilicash, which would probably fall in the criteria of 35 years. We also have all these shops up near Renwick. At a resale shop, and a little strip mall there and such, they could all use a sprucing. So just for your consideration.
If I can make, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to add,
Surely.
you all know that my love of studies anyway, so thank you. Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, absolutely. I thought Mayor Collins would say it because he always says to me, Rasich, the attention to detail is the religion of success. I hear that almost on a weekly basis from him. And you know what I always say? You got to plan for the future. You have to be proactive and not reactionary. And the simple situation is, I think Mr. Murphy is, specifically talking about the TIF district, and Ms. Root is also. And our economy's growing. Plainfield is growing. I think we have to look for the future, make sure we have plans set, know exactly where we're going instead of being reactionary in the future. I can understand Trustee Fay's concern for the expenditure of money, and it's always justified to be a guardian of the funds of the village of Plainfield. But I feel very strongly, I think we have to worry about the future also. I'm not saying spend our livelihood and give away everything, but yet be prepared for when we need the preparation. Thank you.
I will point out as well too, the idea isn't that this is just, and I'm not putting down our planning studies that we do, but this isn't just a planning study. This is actually to help create an implementation plan and actually have the tool then in place so that we can effectively implement those plans.
Yeah, we're in a position, finally, I think, to actually have public or governmental support for it, which wasn't always true in the last few years. So I think now, I think we've always recognized that TIF had some potential in this area, but we didn't think we could get it passed. I think the study now has a chance to get us to the point where we actually will have it in place and we can utilize it for make good things happen in an area that I think needs significant help. So.
We are in need of a motion and a second to proceed.
I move that the board direct the village administrator to execute a contract with SB Friedman Development Advisors to complete a TIF eligibility study and an RPA plan and a redevelopment strategy for the Route 30 Renwick to Spangler corridor in the amount of $78,200.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Trustee Rasich.
Yes.
Trustee Fay.
No.
Trustee Lamb.
Yes.
Mayor Collins.
No.
That motion fails. Administrators report.
No report?
Management services report.
No report.
Engineers report.
No report.
Planning department report.
No report.
Building department report.
Our October operations report.
Public works report.
As you'll recall, as the board will recall, as part of the budget process, we did include $25,000 for the replacement of LED street lights within several subdivisions: Arbor Creek, Prairie, the Ponds, Plainfield, the Reserve, and River Ridge. We've received 4 quotes for the replacement of these units. I'm pleased to report that the units came in at only $294 apiece. They would be changed out by Public Works staff if this was approved tonight, and the village would acquire 100 new LED lights with a 45% savings on electrical costs for each one of the lights. The electrical cost payback for each one of the lights is approximately 5 years. The anticipated life of the lights are approximately 10 years. So you get double the payback just in the electrical savings, and you do get a significant savings in maintenance costs too as well. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, but these are the best prices we've gotten. Very dependable, reliable technology. When we first bought our first round of LED lights, they were over $700 a piece. They've actually come down to the $300 range, so it's a big benefit for the village. And they are, you know, great at reducing energy, and they're very reliable. So with that, I'd be happy to I'll recommend that the board approve the purchase to the lowest proposal, Traffic Control Corporation, at $29,400 for 100 LED streetlights.
So move.
Second. I have a couple of questions, though, Alan. It says, what's the lifespan of the HPS lights?
About 2 to 3 years.
We have 3,500 of them?
Yes, there's several out there. The old mercury vapor lights, we no longer have any in the village, and that was a big push to eliminate that because, of course, you know, mercury is toxic, and they don't make the lights anymore for replacement. They'd have to be completely replaced anyway. So as part of the last round, we really focused on the mercury vapor. Those were the subdivisions that were 20 years old and older. Now we have the high-pressure sodium lights that are rated at 100 watts is the ones that we were focusing on. And these are the ones that are going to be replaced, and they'll be completely replaced. Then the rest are the 150 watts. So those HPS 150 watts are actually made a little bit better. You know, we may be able to get 3 or 4 years out of them, but what I would recommend in future budgets is that we expand this program, since the payback and the cost has come down so well that instead of changing 100 lights, if we have the capability, maybe 2 or 3 or 400 lights at a time, it'll get us ahead of the curve a little better.
But if you got 3,500 of them, they die in 4 years, you're behind the curve by one heck of a lot.
You know,
We need to get in the budget.
I agree. It's a retrofit process that our employees have to undertake, so you've got to factor in some of the labor. Could we, as a department, change out 1,000 lights in a year? It would be near impossible for us to take that on, that we would have to contract some of that out. So we're trying to balance that. The other benefit, in previous years, we did receive a grant through the Department of Energy, which did help the process, paid for approximately half the cost of the lights when they were a little more expensive. Now the DECO program is reduced. You can see we're getting about $5,000 back, which is great. But we're always hopeful that another grant program will come along, and at that point it would be cost effective to contract out. So we still have the street division presentation as far as the budget is concerned. It's an item. If the board would like me to bring that up and take a look at some options, I'd be happy to do that.
Well, I'm still curious. If it has a 4-year lifespan on the HPS, what do you do at the end of the 4 years? You replace a bulb, or it's much cheaper than replacing the whole unit? So you can maintain them without having to replace all of them at once. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we do. The majority of the work that we do out there is replacement of bulbs and or ballasts.
Okay, that's under $100 basically.
You know, the bulbs can range between $50 and $100. Typically, you'll have to replace the photo cell at the same time, because there is a nexus between we've changed bulbs and the photo cell's gone bad, you know, a couple of months later. So we usually do both. So you're in the $200 range for parts plus labor, and now we're approaching the point where the LEDs are almost as cost effective at $300 to replace them entirely. So I think it's a good discussion as part of the street division budget to talk about the LED lights.
Yeah, this is a place where you might consider outside contractor to install them. If you're talking about a difference of $100 between repairing it and getting another 3 or 4 years, or putting in the LEDs and getting the electrical savings as well. It sounds like we may want to accelerate it. It's not part of our discussion tonight, but as far as budget and so on, I'd take a look at, see if we can't accelerate that program. It sounds like there's a lot of benefits from it. So,
Are there any other comments or questions?
do we have a motion? Yeah. Okay.
The motion was made and seconded to authorize the purchase of 100 Cooper Street Works LED light fixtures per the attached quote for the cost not to exceed $29,940 from Traffic Control Corporation. Trustee Rassich? Trustee Fay? Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Collins?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
All I have.
Police Chief's report.
Okay, thank you. I'm seeking board's consideration to declare some equipment that we have at the police department surplus. The equipment specifically is 42 gas masks that we've acquired through federal grant money. Those gas masks have exceeded their terms of use as far as the years of service, and we are currently upgrading with a newer model that would be more effective for our officers. As part of this declaring the property surplus, there is a company out of Wisconsin called Strikers that is willing to accept the gas masks and then offer us credit to purchase additional law enforcement safety equipment down the road, whatever that may be. So I am seeking board's consideration to declare the gas mask as surplus property for the village.
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance number 3192, declaring personal property owned by the village as surplus and authorizing transfer of the property. Trustee Rassich? Trustee Fay?
Yes.
Trustee Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Collins?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Attorney's report.
No report this evening, thank you.
Reminders.
December 2nd is our planning commission. December 8th would be the committee of the whole, has been canceled. December 10th is coffee with the mayor. The 11th is the HPC meeting, and the 15th will be our next village board meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. That motion carries.